Stepdad cheats on my mom, so we get revenge.
Uh-oh.
Okay, initials for clarity. Me, 24 male. My mom, 50 female. My brother, 23 male. Bro. My sister, 30 female. Sis. Cheating stepdad, 45 male. Chris. Stepdad's coworker, 25 female. Betty. The other woman, about a 40 female. Darla.
I'm excited to find out how Betty is involved in this at all.
I'm excited to try and keep all of these names straight, which I never do.
I'll remember Betty. I'm a Betty stan.
This may be a long one. Apologies in advance. I moved in with my mom after her marriage of 25 years with my bio dad ended. He was a manipulative a-hole, but that's another story. Shortly after the divorce, my mom introduced me to her boyfriend at the time, Chris. Now, my mom works as a corrections officer at the county jail. The boyfriend was a former inmate for a DUI. Strong start, Mom. That should have been the first red flag. But my mom was grieving a long marriage, and I didn't want to push the subject.
And she believed in rehabilitation.
I mean,
I respect that.
I gotta give her that much. Chris seemed to make her happy, and that was enough for me. Me, bro, and sis all moved in with Mom and Chris, and we seemed to get along okay. Chris and I bonded a bit over our love of video games, and all seemed well. That is, until 2017. Due to Chris's prior DUI, he had to go in regularly for probationary checkups at the courthouse. One day he didn't return, and we got a little worried. We then received a phone call from him from Texas. I don't know where they're initially located, so I don't know how wild that is. Like, if you already live in Texas, this feels like, and he called us from Texas.
I will say that Texas is big enough that you could call someone from Texas and that be like a wild thing to do. It's not clear.
You got me there.
I got you. Finally.
Turns out, when he arrived at the courthouse that day, he was jumped by the FBI. His family from Texas was implicated in a number of gang and drug-related crimes, and due to a situation where he was in a vehicle during a handoff, he was on the hook as well. He ended up agreeing to testify against his family members in exchange for a shorter sentence and was allowed to be out of prison before the trial. My mom was distraught, and over the course of many phone calls over a year, they worked out their marriage plans until he returned. His store owner at the DQ he worked at allowed him to come back as well, back to his store manager position. Soon after, the drinking started. Now, obviously, because of his DUI, Chris was clearly no stranger to drinking. He began to drink more and more to the point where he was consuming half a 12-pack of beer a day. Or half a 24-pack of beer a day. Sorry, I did the math immediately in my head and reduced it to he's drinking a 12-pack a day, which is a significant amount of beer to drink in a day.
I'd be drunk.
Oh, absolutely. I did 12 beers in a day once, or even just a little short of 12 beers in a day once, and the next morning, I was in agony.
I think you've seen me after 9 beers, and it wasn't great.
We've seen each other after any number of beers and or liquors, and typically never that much, and if it was a bad time.
I had a bad night those nights.
Chris was a mean drunk. He regularly started fights when wasted, and while they never get physical, he wasn't exactly kind with his words. My mom enabled his behavior for several years, saying the stress was getting to him from work and from the upcoming trial. Finally, after several years, my mom had enough. Chris came home extremely drunk one night, and my mom confronted him. She asked if he'd been drinking, and when he didn't deny it, she kicked him out. He went to live with a friend temporarily. The next morning, my mom asked us to help gather a few of his essentials so that he didn't have to re-enter the home until he was sober. While we were gathering his things, we heard a knock at the front door. We opened it to find Betty, one of Chris's coworkers and someone I went to high school with. She told my mom she had something important to share.
I mean, if it's coming from Betty, you know it's important.
After sitting my mom down and telling her not to share where she got the info from, Betty told my mom about how Chris was cheating on my mom with Darla, how he regularly had Darla perform intimate acts in and around his workplace, how Betty had caught them, and how Chris told her that if she ever told my mom, he'd fire her. He was the store manager. And finally, how Darla was pregnant. It's a soap opera.
It is a soap opera.
Just the lowest caliber. I always think the Dairy Queen from my hometown and everything where we grew up, it's a small Dairy Queen. Like, there isn't really a back room. There's literally the front counter and the small rest of it. So if this is happening there, it's no wonder they got caught.
Is that that why it takes so long to make a blizzard sometimes?
Yes.
No offense to people at Dairy Queen. It's a perfectly good occupation.
My mom was angry. After the initial shock wore off, she told us to round up all of Chris's things and to dump it outside. We took everything out of the house and tossed it all in the alley behind our house. Chris had no reason or ability to return to the house. It was rented with only my mom on the paperwork, so no issues there. In the meantime, she called and confronted him. He confessed to the entire affair and that he was happy Darla was pregnant because that meant he'd finally have a child of his own. Mom refused to have more kids. We three were massive strains on her body. She likely wouldn't survive anymore. The mom was also like 50 at this point, right? In the story. If you've already had a couple of kids and then you get together with someone else and they're like, I want my own kids with my genetics. I need these perfect genes to live on.
These dairy genes. I know I'm focusing on Dairy Queen. The alcoholism is much worse, but you know.
Alcoholism, Dairy Queen, they go together sometimes.
I mean, when you're drunk and you want ice cream, yeah.
You put a little bit of bourbon into a nice chocolate shake, and boy, oh boy, you got yourself what we call the Darla surprise. He refused to apologize for any of his actions. My mom arranged for him to collect his items from the alley with an officer present, and he left our lives. The revenge. Now, my mom clearly wanted to dust her hands off him and move on. She was already quite emotional from the whole ordeal and wanted nothing more from him, but Sis Bro and I had other ideas. First, we called his workplace. DQ operates as an independently owned franchise, and the owner of this branch owns several branches in the area. He was also a good friend. We informed him of the intimate acts being performed on the premises, and he went through the process of getting Chris booted from his position and barred him from any of the branches in the area. Funnily, Betty got his position after he left and now runs a tight and clean ship.
Yeah, I was right to be a Betty stan. I called this whole thing.
This is the story of Betty's rise to success.
Congratulations, Betty.
Betty is the Dairy Queen. Now, that's how this story ends.
Beautiful
gonna call it. Chris no longer had a job or a place to live, and so went to live with Darla in a town about an hour away. What is Darla doing an hour away working at a Dairy Queen? Darla, that's not efficient. Dairy Queen's not paying you enough to travel that far. Darla, you deserve better. You deserve a job nearer where you live, and you deserve to be with someone who doesn't smell like dirty dish rags at a Dairy Queen. I mean, not too much, Darla. You had to know that he was married, right, Darla? Darla?
He could have lied about it, I guess, but
he doesn't strike me as that bright.
No, and he also, immediately confessed when confronted, which, if he was gonna lie, he would keep lying, I assume.
I'd like to think that the mom called him, and the moment he picked up, he's like, yeah, I cheated.
That's how I'm gonna answer the phone from now on. Yeah, I did it.
Perfect. We found out that he started working at another Dairy Queen in that town and informed the owner of that location of the situation. It took significantly longer due to there being no current indecent actions occurring there, but eventually he lost that job too. Which kind of suggests that more indecent actions did occur at the Dairy Queen. Maybe this guy is just real horny for blizzards.
Just ice cream is his thing, man.
The moment you take that cup and you turn it upside down, he's gone. Soon after, Chris began driving around our neighborhood, seemingly stalking my mom and our family, probably because of his job loss.
From an hour away?
I mean, what else does he have to do? Now, due to the whole situation in Texas, he never had his probation lifted for his DUI and thus still did not have a license. He never had to drive when he lived with us, but since work was local and we could drive him as needed, but here he was clearly driving around by himself when he shouldn't be. We contacted the police and informed them about Darla's vehicle in our neighborhood and that we believed Chris was driving it without a license. We told them to pull over the vehicle next time they see it, as it would likely be Chris driving again. Sure enough, a few weeks later, we were told that Chris indeed was pulled over and sent back to the local jail for driving without a license and while intoxicated. The police also did a search of the home he was staying at and found several guns at the premises. Since he was a felon, he was not legally allowed to have weaponry on the premises, meaning there was more jail time tacked on. By the time his jail time had finished, it was just in time for him to be sent back to incarceration in Texas for the trial. Chris's son was born while Chris was in prison. Darla eventually realized what an abusive butt Chris was and cut ties with him while he was in prison. During his prison time, Chris started sending tons of letters to my mom, stating how sorry he was, pleading to take him back, and ranting about how it wasn't his fault, all in the same letter, mind you. Mom burnt every one of them. We moved on, moving out of state. Chris eventually got out of prison some years ago and now lives in Kansas, struggling and fighting child support, which Darla sued him for. Mom now has a new boyfriend who treats her right and cares a lot more than Chris ever did. Bro and sis moved on and out, and I still live with Mom, assisting her with the newly purchased home that we've been renovating. Life's looking okay. I was reminded of this by a chat with a coworker about cheaters and thought to post it here for others to enjoy.
Okay. Now, the narrative note, he should have married Betty at the end. They're around the same age. She's clearly a stand-up person with a solid job.
Who should have married Betty? Chris?
The writer.
The writer.
The author should have married Betty.
The author's not good enough for Betty.
That might be true.
Because you know what? The author, a little bit petty, a little bit after revenge.
Too petty for Betty.
And as I said, because I'm not going to have double standards for, guys and gals, the best revenge is a life well lived. It's a quote that I've often turned to.
What about stabbing?
I mean, that's second best. But no, here's the one reason why I say maybe revenge isn't that great. Because it wasn't the mom doing this. The mom's like, look, I just want to move on and live my life. And the kids are like, nah, we're going to get him. And so they lost him his job at the town they were in. They lost him the job at the new town that he moved away to. And then he started stalking the mom.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing if he escalated things and broke into the house or hurt the mom, I think maybe the kids would kind of be at fault for a small amount, but they would have instigated things and given him that little bit of extra reasoning to be a monster. And I don't think that's the right mentality necessarily. Chris certainly deserved the crap that came his way, but you don't necessarily want to do stuff that could put people in danger.
It did also feel like Chris was going to have these problems eventually anyway. He wasn't making good life decisions.
No, clearly not. I mean, aside from working at DQ, because, man, I gotta get my dilly bar.
I want ice cream so bad right
I do. It's so hot in here. I cannot, I don't know how much the sweat's starting to show. Married almost 35 years and just found out he's had a side piece for 2 years. I'm devastated.
What was the original number of years?
35.
35? Why would you wait 33 years to cheat? Seems like just a bad decision.
Maybe you need to build up his credit score. I don't know. So here is a transcript of a letter. Dear Mrs. Redacted, I am writing this letter to inform you that your husband, Redacted, has been having an affair with a neighbor of yours in Redacted by the name of Redacted. A very common name in this part of the country. They have been sleeping together and having an affair for over 2 years. They meet at the pool area and the dog park in your community. They often go away on weekends together, camping or to various hotel rooms. I feel like you should know what is going on and why Redacted is gone so much. I've also seen him drop off your dogs at her house. No woman should have to find out about an affair this way. I'm sorry. I just thought you should know. So that was a letter that this person got and put at the top of the post. And here is their post continued on. Throwaway, obviously. I've been married almost 35 years. Yes, to the same person. And while it hasn't been perfect, it's been all right. Kids, dog, white fence. I got those. Our personal lives have suffered somewhat. I went from being a virgin on my wedding night to stepping out of my comfort zone to please him intimately, menage a trois, to where Saturday it will be 6 years since we've been intimate at all. For the longest time, I thought he was having an emotional affair with his male friend that he had finished with, but had become ill with cancer because he would drop everything and anything for him, including plans we had for him. Plus, there were a few texts that, while not intimate, were more than friendship. I don't know how to read it. Okay, so I guess this is the other guy in the menage a trois, and apparently she suspected they were closer. I don't know. I'm not going to judge too much, but also, if a friend has cancer, I might be closer and more in contact. I've had a friend with cancer, and I was trying to be more there for them. If you had cancer, I'd be more there for you.
Hey, thanks.
I'd give you little hugs, a little smooch on the forehead.
I'd leave to Texas.
Yeah. Work at a Dairy Queen.
Work at a Dairy Queen.
But for some reason, while I was hurt, I was not threatened. I know he's extremely ill, there's no physical relationship going on, his time is short, and once this was out of his system, he would be back to his normal self and me, his wife. I'm really sorry if my words sound crude, that's not how I want them to sound, but once he passed, my husband would be back to me. So I was gone this past week, dog sitting and house sitting for my sister, and got home last night to check the mail. There was a blank envelope with everything typed inside was a short note pictured above. I know who the female is, it's one of his friends. I'm completely devastated. To me, a woman is harder to compete with. What does she have/do that I don't? I decided to get healthy and lose weight. I've lost over 130 pounds. I don't hear anything from him. I went to the doctor last week, dressed nicely, and he told me I was embarrassing him, that his wife was running around town looking like a W with her hanging out. I had a slightly off-the-shoulder whites with dark jeans. I don't know what that is.
I don't know either.
Since finding out, I've become obsessed in finding evidence. I stalk her Facebook, their call logs. He calls her an average 68 times a day with calls lasting 5 to 15 minutes. 68 times a day. Calls are lasting 5 to 15 minutes. Let's say shorter end, 5 minutes, 68 times a day. That is 340 minutes, if I'm doing my math correct, which is almost 6 hours.
That's a job.
That's a lot. I wouldn't call anyone that much.
I have occasionally been so in love, I would not talk to a person that I was so in love with that much. After like hour 4, the 5th day, I'd be like, babe, we gotta stop. This is too much.
We talk online all the time and play games together all the time, and we do not come close to that.
I don't think we do.
Even if we have a deep, meaningful relationship that you'll never understand, Rebecca. I'll drive by her house, I'll type and delete her name, phone number, address, wanting to confront both of them. Blame her, blame him. Wonder what she has that I don't, how I can fix this. Do I want to fix it? Do he? What do I do? Where do I go? How? I've cried for 2 days now. I can't stand to look at him, and I'm afraid to talk to him. Additional information from the poster. I can't edit my post. Part of the reason for the dead bedroom was due to medication we were both on messed with our libido. Okay, they've written this in the most confusing way possible, but that's part of the reason why no doinky doinky in the last 6 years. Okay.
Yeah. Apparently he got better.
Between blood pressure, diabetes, depression, medication, it messes with your body. I spoke with my doctor, got mine changed up, got the drive back. He didn't. There wasn't much that could change in terms of his meds, but it's obvious I don't do it for him. Relevant comments. Original poster responds to multiple questions on the length of her marriage and children. 100% real. I'm extremely upset and I apologize if my grammar isn't up to snuff. I haven't had much sleep these past couple days. Married at 19, will be 54 this year. First kid at 20, then following kids, 1993, 1998, 2004. Okay. I'm not going to keep track of all that.
They're
redacted.
all younger than us.
Yeah. Original poster on the letter she received was real. This is real. I am real. My life, kid, grandkid, animals are all real. Our lack of libido is real. Medical issues that caused it, real, etc. Her picture, phone number, his call log, her address, photo of her house, car, saved on file on my phone, completely real.
All real.
And on her and her husband's ethnicities, white woman married to Asian man. I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Super not relevant.
Someone just had to know. Yo, weirdos. There are a lot of updates. This is going to go for a while. Buckle in.
I already feel worse for her than some of the other stories I've heard. Like, she maybe a little internalized misogyny going on, but like, she seems like a basically okay person. Maybe I'm in for a surprise. I don't know.
I kill puppies for a living. No.
Oh.
So after a few days of crying and feeling miserable, I became obsessed with finding more information. Mind you, this all came to light last Sunday. Before that, I was walking around in an unknown state of not knowing. I'm sorry, redacted, Rebecca.
We're not trying to be mean, but it was a very funny typo.
An unknowing state of not knowing. Yes. So I started scanning phone logs, daily phone calls to and from her 6 to 7 times a day, 20 to 40 minutes each. I had a typo in my first post. That's a wild typo, but okay. I went through his office, nightstand, etc. I don't know exactly what I was looking for, but I was looking for something. I would drive by her house when he would leave. In other words, I was going crazy, and by Wednesday, I broke. I was tired of him acting like it's a normal day, that there was nothing going on. I could not take it anymore, and I first wanted to talk to her. So I took off in my car, drove to the dog park, empty. So I drove to her house, started pounding on her security door and ringing the doorbell. She had a ring, telling her to open her effing door. And if your woman is enough to F a married man, you should be woman enough to talk to his wife. This went on for maybe 10 minutes or so. She didn't answer. I texted my husband that we needed to talk, and that I know. My sister's on the phone with me, trying to calm me down and to get me to leave her place before the police are called. In the 3 minutes, yes, he picked someone in our community, it took me to get home. Not only had she called him, she had also sent him the video. I love that, yes, he picked someone in our community. Like, yep, he's cheating and he's lazy. He'll only cheat on someone who's within walking distance.
That's a fair criticism.
Yeah.
At least drive an hour away to Texas or something. I don't know.
Cheaters, have a little ambition.
We're your lawyers.
So I confronted him somewhat. I was more like, he gaslit me the entire time. He talked down, get your in the house. I can't believe he did something so effing stupid, etc. Turned it around on me. You're always sitting on the couch unless your sister invites you out. And didn't deny he was with her. It's none of your business. When I asked if he would stop seeing her, he said he would not give her up. She is a good friend of his. And the biggest smack in my face, he wants me to apologize to her for embarrassing her in her neighborhood. And I guess she's talking about filing a restraining order against me. So Thursday and Friday, I finished my pity party, and Saturday, I started doing things I never thought I would have to do in my 35th anniversary. I reached out to divorce attorneys. They were closed, but filling out the forms for consultation. I also started a resume and applied for jobs. But after not working for 20 plus years, what kind of work am I going to be qualified for? I stayed at my sister.
Dairy Queen.
Yes. She's going to be there for you. And you know what? She's going to lift you up as an employee. Make you feel great. I stayed at my sister's this weekend. I needed the change of scenery between his attitude, the not happening anniversary, and the funky feeling I needed a break. Update 2. So it's been about a month since I found out about his affair. It still sucks. And I'd like to say, hey, I've totally gotten over him, but one doesn't turn off feelings like a light switch. At least I don't. And sometimes I think maybe we can fix this. But then he does something all whole again, and I'm back on track with my plans and goals. So I've set goals for myself, and I've been working towards them. My first one, get a job. I was a housewife for 99% of my marriage. Not only did I get one, I found 2 that I can work at the same time.
Great. Living the dream.
Well, it is the American dream these
Sure
days.
is.
I opened a secret account, not in my name, and am stashing all my extra money in it. He controls all the house money tightly, so I have to get creative. He knows about one job, not the other one, though. I've gone back to school to get my degree, geared towards what I'm doing. So far, it's going well. I'm remaining positive and pushing forward, even when he gets negative towards me. You're just gonna quit, you'll flunk out, etc. I'm saving for a small place, hopefully a little ADU or an apartment that will allow my little dogs. Once the apartment is lined up, then I will file for a divorce. I need to make sure I have a safe place to go because he will become nasty once served. So far, things are calm. I don't ask about her, although they still speak daily, and I'm sure are hanging out. In our community, it's like he is trying to rub my nose in it. The thing is, I'm not letting him know or see that it's bothering me at all, which in turn is bugging the crap out of him. I mean, good on you. And
Yeah.
that right there, it's the thing I'm saying. Best revenge is a life well lived. You know, If you want to really tick someone off, who cares about them? They're not important.
Is clearly bothering him a lot,
Yeah.
actually, yeah. Also, he's one of the worst people we've heard about here.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's really sucks.
He threatened to take my phone away. Okay, fine. I went and bought a cheap burner phone just in case he does. So now he's switched to being nice. He has brought parts for my car, paid the labor, bought my scrubs and equipment I need for work and school. He asked for a list and bought it. It's times when he's nice, I think there might be hope for us, but as long as she's in the picture, no. I'm going to tell you, even if she's not in the picture, nope, don't.
Yeah.
I forbid it. Then he turns back into the ass again with empty threats and knocking down my confidence, and I'm back to counting months until I can move. Update 3, which is maybe as long as the whole rest of the thing.
Oh my God. Yeah, so I wanted to note that, everyone who writes these seems to know what day of the week it was when they did certain things. I don't know how they do that.
I had burgers within the last week. I couldn't tell you what day of the week that was.
I had to think for as long as you were talking just now to remember that it is Monday right now.
Oh, yeah. I didn't remember that.
Yeah. Also, a lot of the confrontations are happening on Wednesdays. Watch out for Wednesday. Wednesday's rough.
Not just for humping no more.
It's for confronting people who have been humping.
Still on my phone, just worked an overnight shift, so I'm tired. So we're in the month of June, and quite a bit has transpired. Some good, some not. I finally broke down and told my kids. Those were extremely difficult calls to make, and I told them everything. I took responsibility for my part and admitted I could have done things better.
Like what? This woman did almost nothing wrong.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. The way that this husband is reacting to stuff, it's like, however you were acting that maybe, like, wasn't committing to the relationship a bunch, why would you with a guy like that? He sounds awful.
Not committing to that was a good decision.
Yeah, it's like if you're slacking off at a job at, say, Dairy Queen. It's
example.
like, they're not paying you enough to commit and be an A-star employee. We can't all be Bettys.
That's right.
They, my kids, all older, said, while not perfect, I did my best with what I had. It didn't excuse his cheating. My eldest wanted to come out and go a few rounds with his dad and confront the other woman. I told him it wasn't worth it. My second son is my thinker. He didn't say much, but he is deep in thought, you can tell. The third son said, it's about time with the way he talked to you and treated you. I hope you're thinking about leaving. I was honestly on the fence. He would flip-flop between I wanted to work on us and fix us to his actions said differently. And my past 2 weeks have been the worst. So since he has been using my son's car, my son put a tracking device on his car. Yes, I have access to it. No, he does not know about it. He's been using the son's car. This is probably the thinking son's.
That might be the thinking son. He would know how to use a tracking device.
He would tell me he's going to one place and go straight to the other woman's house. And if I would ask where he would lie to my face. I just kept notes on it until I couldn't anymore. Father's Day. I'd worked the night before, got off work at 8 a.m., had texted him what he had wanted for dinner that night, stopped at the store, bought everything, came home, got it started, and tried to take a nap. Mind you, he did nothing whatsoever on Mother's Day. Why are you doing anything for him on Father's Day?
Yeah.
Why?
The only thing you should be doing for him on Father's Day is making him a nice, cake that says, I'm leaving.
Yeah, you're not in jail. You don't have to serve the rest of your sentence until you're divorced. Stop doing things for him.
Yeah.
He does not deserve it. Stop it. Redacted. This is out of love. Stop it. He woke me up to borrow $40 and go to a sporting goods store. So I said, fine, dinner's in an hour and a half. Please don't be late. 2 hours later, not back. I checked the tracking. He went straight to her house and had not moved. So I went for a drive-by. His car was parked in the garage. She was parked outside. So I came back home. I'm more upset for my son. I text him, you need to come home. We need to talk. I know you're not at the sports store. Nothing. After 30 minutes, his car still had not moved. So I called her, and of course she didn't answer. So I leave a voicemail. I know my husband is at your house. You win. I'm done. It's obvious he wants to be with you. I'm tired of the lies, his bull. He doesn't want someone who's loved him and fought for him for 35 years. I'm done. Come get his dog and his stuff. You've won. And I hung up. 10 minutes later, he comes in with a Walmart bag and says he went to Walmart. Then a friend made tacos for him. I dished up servings for my son and I, then threw the rest of the meal in the trash. Yeah. He gives me an attitude because she feels threatened now because I called her. Now she has to change her number. And in her line of work, she will lose clients. I didn't threaten her. I told him if he wasn't happy here, he knew where the door was. He was welcome to use it. He was quiet all week, but was a jerk as well, and his only concern was seeing that woman. I had melanoma removed. I needed a driver, so he took me. When I got in the car, not one word. No, how are you? How did it go? Are you okay? Nope. All he said was, I'm hungry. And it was the 30th anniversary of losing my sister to melanoma, so I was extra sensitive. This is just wild out of nowhere. I mean, redacted. I hope you're doing okay, and you got that awful cancerous tumor removed, and I also hope that the melanoma got removed as well. Little things were adding up. He was forgetting things that I needed or I had asked. I was at the bottom of his list. On our son's birthday, he couldn't even wait for him to blow out the candles before he went to her house. So this last Sunday, he was going through the kitchen cabinets, pulling some soup out, and said he was going to take it to this couple who had been stranded down the road for a couple weeks in a broken down RV. So I gathered a few more items and whatnot, and he leaves, but leaves the bag of stuff on the counter. I checked, and yep, he went right to her house. This was it. My last bit of energy for this man. You keep saying that, redacted. I can't understand how tough it is.
Yeah.
35 years with somebody. But she has given him 10,000 last chances.
Yes.
to the point where I feel like it's like Ross and Rachel on Friends or something. And I'm like, I don't care if they're together or not. Stop it.
Just decide. It's like the end of Lord of the Rings.
This is the Lord of the Rings of relationships.
It's way too long and it ends too many times.
So I text him again. I don't understand why you need to lie. I don't know why you need to lie. There is no, dog park, hiking trail, fishing spot, sporting goods store, broken down RV, nor Walmart on Bunker Hill. Why not be honest and tell me where you're going to our house? It's obvious, regardless of what you're saying, you don't want to work on our marriage. You have and are choosing her over your family. And sent it. And I tried to call him, didn't answer. So I text. Didn't think you would answer. Why are you still trying? Folks, if you're in this relationship and you've told a person several times, it's over, I'm done, I'm not doing this anymore, we're over, and then you're constantly like, hey, where are you at? What are you up to?
It's an unhealthy decision.
It's not going to help things because in their mind, it's not over because you're still treating it like it's not over. You say it's over, but you're not acting like it. Act like it, redacted. You deserve better.
You deserve better, redacted.
Not even 5 minutes later, he comes screeching in the driveway, slamming in the house, screaming, what the F is wrong with you? You effing mother effing B. I'm sure if I was in the same room as him, he would have hit me. I told him I'm tired of him lying to me. Just tell me he's going to the W's house and he's going this entire time and yet still lies about it and doesn't think I'm questioning where he is. I know. He called me a few choice names and ignored me the rest of the night. I'm sure my neighbors loved it. I went yesterday, Monday, to file for divorce and got crap news. Because he's a 1099 employee, haven't technically worked in almost 2 years, although my bills are paid because I'm not on his bank account. I never have been. I've always had to ask for money from him. And because he stopped me from doing his taxes 3 years ago because they were too complicated for you, if I were to file for divorce right now and ask for alimony, he could immediately file to lower it and the judge could agree with him. My lawyer suggested waiting 3 months to file as he is now working again, started this week and submits paper bids, so I'm to collect as much evidence as I can in the meantime. He was impressed with as much as I did have this far.
It sucks so much that she waited so long already and then goes to the lawyer finally, and the lawyer's like, you gotta wait 3 months.
These lawyers are telling you, don't wait, do it now. That's our legal advice.
Our legal advice is just leave. Figure it out. It's not legal advice.
Welcome to Fax and Sons Law Office. So I'm planning on playing it cool till September. And then we have some relevant comments from Embarrassed Sky 3188. I know this hurts now, but you will be better off without a parasite sucking the life out of you. I don't know anything about this, but I think you should get a second opinion from a different lawyer. Always. 1099s are still proof of income. It feels like they could subpoena those and his full tax records, which he may not have filed at all. The response from Redacted was, he owns his own business and the company he subcontracts to sends him a 1099. I haven't seen a tax return in 3 years as we file separately. I try to look when he isn't home, but his office is a mess. I'm going to keep looking, though, because there has to be something.
Is this Bob? Is this Bob from the other story? I don't know what order we're going to do these.
Yeah, this is Bob 50 years later. He's been in this marriage for 35. Things were rough for Bob. He got back on his feet, got married. He is currently, I guess, in his 70s or something. I don't know.
And he's just the worst.
He's terrible.
He's just still terrible.
The OP on why she needs his alimony. Her children are all grown and she works now. I just started back to work 2 months ago. I spend most of our marriage as a housewife, taking care of him and our kids. My youngest son is 20, but has special needs, and mentally is about 12. Earlier, when I learned about this affair, I would have done anything to get him back. Now, no. I don't want him back. I deserve better.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. You deserve the alimony.
You deserve the alimony. I've heard people try and argue against this, where it's like, well, he did all the work and earned the money, and so it's his. And it's like, being a stay-at-home, a domestic partner who stays at home and does stuff, it's real work. She raised kids. She kept the house in order, and I'm sure did tons of stuff for him, but now legally doesn't have the money because she did all that instead of working. And so, yeah, she deserves the alimony. And if you disagree, you are wrong. Feel free to say so in the comments. We love the engagement.
It's fine to just say, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Just start there. Even further afield, I don't love when people say that their special needs children are mentally blank age. It's not an accurate way to describe it.
Yeah, no.
But whatever, it's fine. I'm not mad at her. She seems like a nice enough lady.
Yeah. The OP on securing all of her legal documents said all those documents have since been removed to a safe location back in April, explaining why she's waiting until September to make a move on the alimony. I've lasted this long, and honestly, if I were to walk away now, I couldn't afford to survive in a decent place with my son, even with my job. And after all I've done, including taking care of his mom, which I did willingly, and help in his business, run the home, etc., I deserve it. I just want what is fair to get a safe place for my son.
Yeah.
According to the lawyer, it could mean the difference between $500 a month and $4,500 a month. Ballpark figures here, but it was a substantial difference. I mean, he might have a pretty good job doing whatever it is.
Apparently.
He can afford to be with two women at the same time, so...
Is that expensive?
I assume. Well, I guess he's having his wife make up stuff to bring up. Well, I'm thinking of the canned goods for the RV, and they weren't real. Or maybe they were real, and they're just dead now. They starved to death because he went to go get himself some naughty.
Not soup. Also, didn't he wake her up to borrow $40 from her? I didn't imagine that, did I?
Yeah. How does that add up? Maybe he gave her a bunch of money and then he just needed some back?
You know, life is weird and these things happen, but like...
It's a puzzling thing in this little story. I mean, look, we're going to take these Reddit stories as face value as best we can. I'm not going to detectivize each and every story on here to be like, is this really true?
Yeah.
Can we solve the mystery? I don't care. We're going to judge it based on if it's probably maybe true, but probably not 100%. I don't know, but that is suspicious.
To be clear, I'm not doubting the veracity of the story at all based on that. I just think like that's a weird thing to happen. Like it seems like exactly what an abusive guy like that would do. Like, oh, I have all this money. Can I borrow $40 from you?
He wants to exert that control.
Yeah. Kind of. I swear to God, someone wrote a secret book that all of these guys read and they just follow the instructions because it's exactly the same every time.
The book on how to be an idiot.
How to be the worst.